Hello and welcome. I'm Heather, and this is episode 122 of the Crazy Confidence Coach podcast. I am so excited to talk to you about negative thinking today. I don't know about you, but negative thinking is something that I can be challenged with over time, and oftentimes it is something that I don't even realize. But this is why this episode is going to be so special for you and for me. One of the reasons that it's so important to pay attention to what comes out of your mouth and what you're thinking is to find out if you are stuck in a negative thinking pattern. Why is that important? It's important because this will keep you from taking action in ways that you need to. It will keep you from setting and reaching goals that you are wanting to reach. It will also impact your relationships, how you're showing up to the relationship and how others are responding to you. So I don't know about you, but this is something that can be very, very important. And I love helping people figure this out, catch their words, catch their thoughts, and then reframe them. And voila, they have a different experience. My focus today will be 10 words that negative people use all the time, and they drastically influence the outcome in the world that they have, whether it's a job offer, whether it's a relationship they want, whether it's just simply having friends that enjoy hanging out with them. You can listen for these 10 words and find someone who is struggling with negative thinking. Now, I know that you might be like a little Nazi and run out there and listen to other people and what they're saying. And yes, some of these words may come out sometimes for some people, and it's not a big deal, right? But if you are someone who's using these words repetitively all the time and in your regular language or in your regular thinking, that's when they're going to be influential for you, and that's when you'll want to change them. So let's talk about these 10 words that I think are very important to watch and really show that you have negative thinking. The first 2 words that I will bring up are always and never, because always and never are very descriptive for the time frames or how often or when something happens. And very rarely does everything or anything, happen all the time. And rarely does something happen never. Now, I want you to think about the last time you used the words always and never. So I always trip when I go down the aisle, or I always forget to say the words that I need to say when I speak, or I always think that I'm the only one that doesn't fit in a group. Whatever your brain brings to you and it says always or never, your job is to immediately stop it and rewrite the script. Find out what is true about what you're saying. Is it really always, and is it really never? My guess is it's not. So be honest with yourself, reframe it, and be true with that statement. So if you're saying I always trip when I walk down the aisle, or I always feel out of place when I'm in a group, I want you to find the opposite of that statement. So if you say, I always feel out of place when I'm in a group, I want you to find a time that you don't feel out of place in a group and prove to yourself that always isn't the truth, because usually this isn't the case at all. So always and never are your first 2 words to look out for. And those are the first 2 that you want to really consider. Can I reframe this? Can I find the opposite of what this word implies? The next 2 words I've talked about before. I believe it's episode 114 when I talk about reframing negative thinking. You can go back to that episode and look at that. And we talk about the words should and have to. Should and have to are the next 2 words that I want to talk about. Should is a shame word. And what I mean by that is when the word should comes out, typically the thought process behind that is that you believe that you are supposed to be doing something else. And this should word is always, or I shouldn't say always, here I catch myself, right? That should is related to shame. It's related to, oh, you really should be doing that. So if you pay attention to how you are using the word should, typically you're shaming yourself and trying to get yourself motivated through shame. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't get very motivated through shame. every time I think to myself, I shouldn't be having, let's say, a candy bar, or for me, it would typically be a really sugary coffee drink. Well, that doesn't make me feel better, and it doesn't stop me from doing it. So reframe your shoulds to, I'm going to have this time, or I am going to choose this time not to, whatever you can do to get rid of that should. And then the other half of that 2 words is the have to. I cannot tell you how many clients that I talk to that say, I have to go to work, or I have to do this for my kids, or I have to whatever, fill in the blank. And here's the thing that I want to tell you, and this is what I tell my clients as well. You do not have to do anything. Now, if you don't do something, you are going to typically have a consequence of that. So when you have the words have to come out of your mouth, I want you to think about, what do I truly have to do? Now, you may be compelled to feed your children every night. You may be compelled to go to work every day, but there is a reason that you feel as if you have to do that. But the truth is, you don't have to. There are plenty of people who are living on the streets who don't have to go to work because they don't choose to do that. There are people who choose not to feed their children. And meanwhile, there are other people who are saying, I have to do this. If you might reframe it a little bit with yourself to, I'm choosing to feed my kids every night. Man, it's a lot to think of something to cook every single night, but that's what I'm choosing to do. Instead of have to, the feeling of that feels completely different. The other thing is that if you think about it when it comes to your job, there are many people without a job or who aren't getting a regular paycheck. So I have to go to work. I'm getting to go to work. I'm not in love with work, but man, I'm going to go because I know that I want to pay my bills. It's just a little bit of a reframe instead of saying I have to. I have to leads or implies there's no choice. There is a choice and you have one. The next 2 words are the worst and terrible or horrible, whatever word you might use. And the reason I use these is that the worst and terrible or something in that nature, that verbiage is implying that whatever that experience is, whatever just happened, is the worst that could possibly happen or the worst that could ever be. When we're talking about restaurants, when we're talking about dates, a first date, when we're talking about friends and hanging out, when we're talking about kids, somebody else's kids, whatever it is, you want to think about what is the truth about the situation again. Is it really the worst? I recently saw on Instagram a post that said, if everybody wrote down what was going on with them, even when they thought it was the worst, and put it in a pile, would they be willing to grab somebody else's worst and grab that out? And I thought that was interesting because we think that something's really bad until we hear what somebody else has going on. So the next time you're thinking your situation's the worst or it's just so terrible in your life or in your world or whatever the situation is, I want you to consider that. Is it really the worst or is it just something that made you uncomfortable? And did you survive it? And what did you learn from it? And can you just leave it at that instead of making it the worst and be a drama queen about it? Not that I've ever been a drama queen, ever. Okay, so the next 2 we have are everyone and no one. So I love when I get online, I find this on Nextdoor. It says, everyone in Buda is talking about the new shower from XYZ company. And I think, how funny. I've heard no one talk about it. So how is everyone talking about it? Clearly, this isn't the truth. And when someone says that, everyone or no one, you automatically, your brain all thinks, is that true? I catch myself if I hear someone else, well, everyone is getting a new vehicle or everyone else is buying a house or everyone else has whatever it is. The truth is that's not true. And when we exaggerate like that, we make ourselves feel belittled or not as good, or maybe not as we're not somehow blessed as much because everyone else has it, but I don't, or maybe everyone else does it and that makes it okay for me to do it, whatever that case may be. And of course, if you grew up in the 70s and 80s like I did, maybe this happens still, but my mom would just say, just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean you get to do it. And that was it. There was no explanation. So everyone And no one is really a misnomer. Drop it from your vocabulary if you can, because 99.9 times of your speaking or thinking, it's not true. The last two that we'll talk about, I hear so much when I am speaking to people, coaching, and I'm with other women, this idea of I failed at something, or I even hear people calling themselves names like I'm an idiot or I'm stupid or I'm whatever. So these two are kind of similar or the same, and that is calling yourself a name like idiot or stupid or silly or hot mess or whatever, and or referring to yourself as a failure. Gotta stop it. It doesn't matter if you failed at a particular action or something failed that you did, but I'm a huge proponent of every single thing you do, you learn from. You use the evaluation period that we talk about all the time here, and that is what went right, what went wrong, what can I do next time better, and leave it at that. Come out with some learning and you didn't fail. Let go of that. And when it comes to name calling, it's just a no. It's just a no-brainer. I fall into it as much as other people do. I use the phrase or used to use the phrase all the time, I'm a hot mess. Well, I finally realized I'm projecting this idea on myself that I'm this hot mess. And although that sounds cutesy and funny and whatever, it doesn't really portray who I am or what I want to be or who I'm striving to be. So I don't want to give other people that impression. I don't want to feed their thoughts about me. And I certainly don't want to feed thoughts to myself about me that are negative or not reinforcing of who I really want to be and who I am. These are lots of fun things to look at, some words to catch yourself speaking. Please, please, please don't run out and catch your kids and your husband and your best friend saying all these things and point it out to them unless you want to do it together, because I can promise you, whatever you point out on someone else is something that you're also struggling with yourself. Enjoy these 10 words. I'm going to repeat them really quickly for you. And then hopefully this week, over the next month, over the next year, you can work on grabbing these words and getting them out of your vocabulary. I call that vocabulary reset training. So let's do it together. Here are the top 10 or the 10 to look for. Always, never, should, have to, worst, terrible, everyone, no one, failure, an idiot, or a name-calling name like hot mess, or I'm dumb, or I'm whatever. I hope that you can take these and reframe your negative thinking, because negative thinking is doing no good for you and it's not doing any good for me either. Have a great day and come back and see me next week.